Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about real estate investing. Usually I talk about stocks and crypto, etc. But real estate is something tangible. And actually 99% of ultra wealthy people definitely invest in real estate. So there's no way around. Real estate is the way to build your money and grow it in the future. That's actually one of the many houses and apartments I've been looking at recently because I'm planning to invest more real estate to my portfolio as well. It offers a lot of opportunities to diversify, store value. I think is much better than gold because long term it's only going to go up in value. Of course, the old adage of location is definitely important. But when you look at most cities or capitals, there aren't really so many places you can really go wrong. For me, the best part of real estate is achieving a positive cash flow. So the idea here is basically that whatever is your loan or mortgage that you will take, most likely you're not going to pay for the entire house or apartment in cash, right? So you're going to take some kind of loan or mortgage most likely. And depending on the country where you live, that can be 5, 10, 15% of the total value. So let's take a simple example. Let's say you buy a house for 100,000. It's going to be hard to find a house for 100K these days, but just for the example. So you would have to put, let's say 15% down. So you have to put 15,000 in cash for the developer or the house owner to pay. And the rest is usually financed by the bank. So that's great. Once again, depending on the country where you live and the bank and your financial situation, you could get a mortgage for 20 all the way to 30 years. And usually I prefer to take the longer because the longer you take, the lower is going to be your monthly payment. And the great thing here is though, when you, for example, plan to rent it out afterwards, and your rent income is higher than your mortgage payment, meaning let's say you end up paying 500 euros every month to the bank for your mortgage repayment, but you can at the same time rent it out for 600 or 700 dollars, you're going to have a positive cash flow. This is how the rich get richer over time. And you can use the cash flow to start financing more properties. And that's actually what they do. They usually start with one property and then they do the same. All they actually need to have is that initial working capital. And in some countries, it can be as low as 5%. And often the more property you have, the lower your initial investment has to be. So you can really start multiplying the growth of your portfolio, which is absolutely amazing and incredible. Of course, you also get a lot of tax advantages, right? A lot of the things that you can write off, depreciation, or some of the investments you do into the house, some of those things you can write off against your payable tax. So that's really good as well. And something that a lot of the rich are using as well. And not only that, in addition, you're going to have the appreciation of the building and the land itself. Once again, if you bought in a good location, over time, it's only going to increase in value unless you bought in some really dodgy area that went down for whatever reasons. Majority of the places have only gone one way over the years, and that's up. Yes, there have been resets over the years. Of course, we had the house bubble that burst, etc. But generally, over the years, over the long term, it's one of the best investments you can possibly do. And another benefit that we shouldn't forget is worst case scenario, you can live in your apartment, right? In your house with your stocks and crypto and so on. That's all great to look at, but you can't really do much with it physically. Here, you can always move in. Worst case, you can live in your house, in your apartment, and just enjoy life. So that's yet another benefit. So that's why I think a balanced approach between stocks, crypto, and other investments definitely ultimately needs to come back to real estate, because this is where you can really invest for the long term and build wealth for generations. So my goal is to start small and have smaller objects, obviously, and over time be able to scale up and then kind of upgrade my housing myself, and then the smaller units I'll be able to rent out and then have this positive cash flow help to pay for my bigger properties in the future. One thing I will say though is when you do this rental agreements, then of course ideally you want to be living in the country where you own that property, because I also have property in the country where I don't live anymore, where I used to live, and now it's quite difficult to kind of look after this, right? If I have a tenant complaining or have some issues, I'm not there. So basically, I need an agency that looks after this property for me. And of course, they're going to take a fee from the rental income, which is fair enough because physically I can't be there. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And of course, ultimately, you need to ask yourself, do you want to own property? Because it comes with certain responsibilities, right? There's a lengthy paper process. There's bank loans. You're going to be having this for 30 years if you don't want to pay it off earlier. So it is a long-term commitment, definitely. But again, it also offers a huge upside in the long term. So it's something you need to answer yourself. Personally, I do like real estate. I don't want to only have it. I want to diversify. So I think that's super important. But if you're still young, you're traveling the world, and I think renting is the way to go, and use the time to accumulate a down payment, because you're going to need initial starting capital to get your first mortgage. If you have nothing to show for, nobody's going to give you a big mortgage, right? Use this time to build up that Nasdaq, and then you start investing into real estate. For me, the hardest part is to evaluate the state of a building, because, I always have to trust professionals to say if it's a good or bad building. With stocks, I can easily do my own research and see what it is. With crypto as well, but with houses, it's very much, you need an expert to trust them, because I don't know if these stones are good or not. So there's a lot of technical aspects to it where unless you're really an expert, you need to hire an expert, somebody that you can trust, and you're going to be investing a lot of money in it. So that's very important, of course. In terms of land and location, I think you can do your own due diligence. I always like to go around and speak to the neighbors and get their insights as well, how they feel, how's the neighborhood, how's it developing. There's great websites where you can see what's planned around that building, because that's also important, because it may not be much, right? For example, when you look here, I mean, right now there isn't really much around where we are, very much in the fields, in the forest. But the master plan is to really develop this area into a beautiful compound, enclosed area, private area. So it's going to go up the more development will happen. And I think that will, in the long term, drive the value upwards. So honestly, if you have the money to invest, I think real estate is definitely the way to go. Right now, it's absolutely expensive. But on the other hand, I said the same 2 years ago. But since then, it's only been one way, and that's up. Of course, there's also the time aspect, because even if you finish the house now, you need to finish the inside as well. So you're going to need a designer, you're going to need supplies, and it's going to take time, money, especially now with the supply chain issues we're having. It's going to take ages, but nonetheless, over time, it's going to play out. It's a long-term investment. It's definitely the way to go. And by the way, guys, let me know what you think about this house. Looks pretty good to me. So I'm still thinking, but pretty tempted by it. If you enjoy this kind of content, then please give it a like. Then I know I'm going to be making more real estate videos in the future. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.